more time.
CC Hampton. Your mother.
You're my mother. So what was your life like before you had me, your first child?
Before having my first child, I was in retail management and really didn't have very many responsibilities other than paying for my daily living expenses and things that I wanted to do. So I really didn't have any worries as far as bills or any childcare or worrying about somebody else's life, being responsible for somebody else's life.
So after you had me, what was it like meeting me for the first time?
It was very emotional. It's very hard to believe that I was responsible for bringing in this beautiful form of life.
And how old were you?
I was 20.
Were you in college at the time?
No.
So from that moment, what have you learned about motherhood?
That it's a lot of hard work and it's a lot of responsibility, but it has a lot of rewards.
And what was most surprising to you about it?
Can't say, I mean, all of it was a surprise because every day changes.
Yeah.
And, but just being able to deal with those, a child being sick or not liking something for the first time or going somewhere for the first time and being uncomfortable because you're not sure how they're going to behave. So, just have to be able to kind of roll with the flow because you're not really in charge of, how that child can respond. How you deal with it is how is going to control the situation.
And do you have a specific memory that sticks out to you?
About a situation being uncomfortable?
Yeah.
No, because, for the most part, you're a pretty good kid. I never knew really when you were sick because you would always be smiling and laughing. And so that was hard to know what to do because you were always happy and smiling. And although your face was kind of beet red and from having a temperature, you acted like the same happy, cheerful child that that you were every day when you weren't feeling sick.
Wow. I didn't know that. So at 20 years old...
So I don't know what happened now.
So at 20 years old, besides having me, were there any other challenges that you were facing?
Oh, of course. Financial, because it's just having to go in and out of the hospital and going to the doctors. Those are just new things that you may not be prepared for or be prepared for because you don't know how many times that you have to go to the doctor. And just dealing with getting different medications or different clothes because you were growing like a weed. One week you fit one outfit, the next week you didn't. So those were the only real challenges, is just being responsible for somebody else's life, and that means from clothes to health to dealing with emotions because they're not sure and not being a parent before, not quite sure how to deal with those emotions when they arise.
And you said parent. Are you implying that you did it on your own?
Oh no, your dad was there, and he was a pretty good dad. He worked, and I stayed home for the first 6 months before going back to work. So I had a good period of time that I was able to bond with you and develop a schedule and how your daily in and out, a routine that you got used to. And so it just made it that much easier when I did go back to work.
So as a mom, what do you think inspires you?
What inspires me most is my children, my girls, and what they will ultimately do with their lives. So trying to set up a good example for them and be there as an encouragement, and not that I know it all, but maybe have been through some similar situation that they may be currently going through or might be coming upon. So just inspired just to be a good person and to show that to my children.
And how did you know that you were ready to be a mom?
I didn't. You never know. Nobody's ever ready. You can never be ready to be a mom. I mean, as much money as you save, as much clothes you put away, as much things you think you can be prepared for, every situation's different. you being born was different from your sister being born. So, you know, I don't, you can, a lot of people use that as an excuse, but I don't think you ever can be truly prepared for what parenthood can bring.
And how has being a mom changed you?
I don't think it's changed me very much. I tend to think I'm the same person that I was, other than just having two lives to take care of. But as far as just how I look at life and how you treat people and how I want others to treat me still the same. I don't think you change because your responsibilities change.
So, to the next question I have, how did it feel when your first child moved away?
That's not fun. I could start crying. You know, you go through so many emotions. You're excited because they're entering into a new chapter, but then you're also going into fear of not knowing who they may meet or whose path they might cross, or, you know, you just have to worry about who else is out there. Not so much that, because I felt like I did a good job raising you and you having a good street sense, you know, being very street smart and having a good head on your shoulders, but you just have to worry about all the other people that are out there. So that's what was most scary, because I didn't know who you would encounter and how you might handle that situation.
So what advice would you give to other mothers?
Not to be a helicopter parent, to give them their space to grow, but also to be there when they need you.
And what advice would you give me?
For parenthood, or just for preparing for that? Just probably the same thing. Is not, I feel like, you know, we went through our ups and downs of times where we didn't talk, or we talked maybe every 2 weeks, but then as you change and you realize what I was doing or had done as a parent, it came more evident and we became much closer. So just giving them their space and allowing them to grow as a person and to make their mistakes. Let them fail forward. Don't be afraid to let them to face challenges and failures, because that's going to make them grow. So don't be afraid to allow others to fail, even though you ultimately, you know, you don't want to see them fail. But it's what they do when they get up. If they fall, you gotta let them fall, and then you gotta see what they do when they get up and be there. If they're not, you know, maybe not getting off on the right foot.
Is there anything else that you want to share with me about being a mom?
I wouldn't change anything for the world. My girls and you are my most precious assets, and one day I hope, whether it's by a child that you give birth to or a child that you adopt, that you are able to experience. And it doesn't have to be a work or a project or something that you decide that it becomes your child may take that place, because it might not be your thing to have a child, to actually give birth to a child, and that's okay. And a lot of people think that that's the next thing that's going to make them complete, and it doesn't have to be.
Thank you.
Oh, did I make it right?
Do you have any stories you want to tell me?
About how bad you are?
Was I a bad kid?
No.
I was the great kid, wasn't I?
Until you turned 13. Or 12 and a half.
What happened at 12 and a half?
Tried to grow some balls. Tried to flex your muscles and show that you were Taylor Grant. You knew everything at 12.
How long did I go through that phase?
Probably until your first year of college.
Really?
You scaled it back, but when you got a car and you learned that, you had to be responsible with that, but I don't think you truly appreciated that there were others that had gone before you and that might have some advice and better ways to deal with situations. So I don't think that it's a bad thing. Everybody goes through it, but yours was it was a little bit of a challenge.
Was my being growing up harder than Maya's? What do you think?
Well, she hasn't even tipped the scale yet. You guys are both so different. You know what she is doing now at 14 and almost 15 is way different than what you were doing at 14 and 15.
Can you describe that?
Yeah, the boy thing started much earlier with her. I mean, you still to this day, you know, kind of can just write off boys, where, you know, she's in this boy craze thing that you didn't do that. The boys still had cooties at her age to you. When you were 14 and 15, boys still had cooties, and you thought that if you touched them, you probably got pregnant. I mean, I'm saying that sarcastically, but you just weren't into them as much as she is into them.
Well, I was
At the-
chubby.
You got you had the 14 roll.
That probably had something to do with it.
No, you're still beautiful. You got those gorgeous blue eyes and pretty curly hair.